Hello, sports fans. It is Monday, November the 16th, the year 2015. And as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys caught some of the games over the weekend. Just when we thought we had it all figured out, we had an NFL Sunday like yesterday that just blew everything up. What a wild and wacky Sunday in the NFL. So many road teams won, so many upsets, just strange things going on. I had an awful week in the NFL. I was rolling along there for a lot of weeks, but I had a terrible week in the NFL, so I gave some of it back this week. Hopefully this upcoming week I can do much, much better. There's always a week like this in the NFL where it just blows up, where there's just no rhyme or reason. You just don't know what's going on. You thought you had it figured out, and then you get one of these weekends in the NFL. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to our picks for NFL Week 11. And yes, we are in Week 11 of the NFL season. Hard to believe that 3 months has already gone by in the NFL season. Thanksgiving is coming up. I mean, how fast is the time going by? But without further ado, let's get to our NFL picks for week number 11 in the league where they pay for play. And I'm going to go to the Sunday game here. I'm going to skip around a little bit. The Thursday game is awful, so I'll save that for later. Let's start with the Sunday games. Let's go to Philadelphia. I'd like to start in Philadelphia, where the Philadelphia Eagles are home, -6.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay 4-5, had the nice come-from-behind win against Dallas 10-6. Tampa Bay scores late. Tampa Bay has been battling. I never thought Tampa Bay would be this competitive this year, especially with the rookie quarterback Winston. I have to tip my cap for Tampa Bay the way they're playing. They play really, really hard, so they're up to 4-5. Let's get to the Eagles. The Eagles are 4-5. They lost at home to Miami yesterday, 20-19, after the Eagles had a 16-3 lead after the first quarter. What planet are the Philadelphia Eagles on? You can't hold a 16-3 lead after the first quarter against a Miami Dolphin team that got blown away the last 2 weeks, that has no wake, that looked just awful the last 2 weeks. Philadelphia battling for the division. They looked a little better coming into this game. They're up 16-3 after the first quarter. Score 3 points the rest of the way at home. And I don't want to hear that Bradford got hurt. The Eagles were doing nothing when Bradford was in there after the first quarter. And then when Sanchez got in there, it got even worse. Sanchez is throwing interceptions in the end zone. I mean, terrible. And Bradford, by the way, is always hurt. No surprise there. And where's this big innovative offense from Chip Kelly? Remember when Chip Kelly first got to the Eagles? They were throwing 1 million passes. They want to, run 450 plays. They want to tire out the opposition. Where is this innovative offense? They scored 3 points at home after the first quarter against a Dolphin team that was dead the last 2 weeks and didn't have wake. What a deplorable loss by the Eagles. I know a lot of Eagle fans, and they've given up on the Eagles. They've given up on Chip Kelly. They just said that this team is not any good. They want Chip Kelly out. And I'll tell you what, I'm down on Chip Kelly. I mean, this stuff may work at Oregon when you're playing Eastern Washington. Chip Kelly has shown me nothing so far. Nothing at all. Nothing innovative. I mean, I don't like anything Chip Kelly's done, actually. I mean, 4-5. Losing at home to the Dolphins when you're up 16-3 after the first quarter. They could only score 3 points the rest of the way. Are you kidding me? I mean, Chip Kelly and this innovative offense, it's a disgrace. I can't believe the Eagle fans had to sit through this yesterday. I mean, what a terrible loss by Philadelphia. Now, as far as this game, Philadelphia's 6.5-point favorite over Tampa Bay. And you know what? I guess I haven't learned my lesson. I still don't trust Tampa Bay. I'm still waiting for them to fall on their face. I just have a feeling they could lose, 31-7 at any time. They have a rookie quarterback. Philadelphia is home. They need this game in the worst way. They're still right there for the division. They're only, a half a game behind the Giants? Can't lose back-to-back home games to Miami and Tampa, can you? I have to feel that Philadelphia is going to show some life this week, right? And beat Tampa Bay at home. You have to think so. I mean, I don't know if Bradford's going to play. I mean, maybe Sanchez is in there, but come on. You have to be able to handle Tampa Bay in your building. So I haven't learned my lesson yet. I'm going to go back on Philadelphia. I'll take Philadelphia at home, -6.5 against Tampa Bay, but I am really down on Philadelphia and really down on Chip Kelly. That was a deplorable loss yesterday. So that's pick number 1. Let's go to pick number 2. Let's go to Chicago, where the Denver Broncos are -3 against the Chicago Bears. Chicago up to 4-5 all of a sudden. The Bears, who were awful the first few weeks of the season, are actually showing signs of life. Cutler playing well, the offense doing things. How about the performance yesterday? They go into St. Louis in what we all think is a decent Ram team, and the Bears just lay it on them, 37-13, blew them right off the field, dominated it in all aspects of the game. The coach for the Rams, Fisher, was apoplectic after the game. I mean, he didn't know what to say. The Bears are showing improvement. I have to give them that. I did not think the Bears would respond at all this year. They are showing improvement. Now, on the Denver side, Denver down to 7-2. They've lost 2 straight. And how about the performance yesterday against Kansas City? Kansas City just laid it on Denver. I mean, at one point, what was this game? 29-0. I lost track. I mean, it was an absolute beating. Kansas City just dominated Denver. Peyton Manning, what is going on with you? Peyton Manning breaks Brett Favre's record yesterday from most passing yards ever, and then Peyton Manning proceeds to have one of the worst games in NFL history. Remember that game Manziel had last year against Cincinnati? Well, this performance rivaled that. At one point, I think Manning was 5 of 20 for 30 yards and 4 interceptions. I mean, are you kidding me? Now they're saying Manning's got injuries. What else is new? He looks like an old, decrepit elephant. This was an absolute beating, and Peyton Manning was awful. They pulled him from the game. That's how bad he was. Tony Dungy last night said he shouldn't start next week. That's how bad it's gotten for Peyton Manning. Just remember, just a few weeks ago, remember when Denver laid it on Green Bay? Well, in a couple of weeks, it's all come crashing down on Denver, and I think Denver's got a good team around Manning. But Manning was atrocious yesterday. Looks like an old, decrepit elephant. Now they're saying he's got injuries on top of it. Again, it's going to come down to Manning in the playoffs for Denver. And now Denver, they've lost 2 in a row, and they have now probably blown home field to Cincinnati and New England. Denver probably is going to end up with the 3 seed. That means they're going to have to win probably in New England and Cincinnati. That is not going to be easy. So Denver, all of a sudden in 2 weeks, has absolutely collapsed. As far as this game, this is a very strange game. Now, I think Peyton Manning's going to start this week. And I got to think Denver is going to have to show some sort of pride here. I mean, just like I talked about the Eagles, I mean, Denver's going to have to show some sort of pride here. And Manning, if he gets on the field, has to show some sort of pride after that performance last week. That was atrocious. I know Chicago's been improving, and I like what Chicago's been doing lately, but that's another team I cannot trust. Every time I jump on those type of teams' bandwagon, they always let me down. I still don't think Chicago's great. They have been playing better. I have to think Denver is going to respond here. So I will take Denver -3 against Chicago at Soldier Field, but I am not all that confident. That is a very, very strange game. So that's pick number 2. Pick number 3, we have another strange game, another strange spread. We got a lot of strange games this week. The Baltimore Ravens at home are -1 against St. Louis. Baltimore is 2-7 after they lost to Jacksonville yesterday. Jacksonville kicks a field goal with no time left. That's after Baltimore dropped an interception that would have won the game. And that's when Baltimore has a face masking penalty with no time left on the clock that puts Jacksonville into field goal range. I mean, you want to talk about a disastrous year for Baltimore. Yet at 2-7, they're 1-point favorite here. The Rams are down to 4-5 as they got bombed, as I just mentioned, to Chicago at home. What a terrible loss by the Rams. I'll tell you, yesterday there was some atrocious performances by a lot of teams, and the Rams led the way. They were right up there. They lost 37-13 in their own building to Chicago and looked lifeless. They never made a rally. The second half, Fisher was screaming at the team to do something. They couldn't do anything. As far as this game, this is a bizarre game. Baltimore's 2-7, yet they're 1-point favorite. Listen, I think the Rams are better than Baltimore, but the Rams have to be more consistent. 4-5 is not good enough. I'm sorry. I do think the Rams are going to win this game just because I think Baltimore will find a way to lose it. Baltimore can do no right this year. So I will take the Rams +1 over Baltimore in Baltimore. That's pick number 3. Pick number 4, let's go to Miami, where the Miami Dolphins are -1 against the Dallas Cowboys. Miami up to 4-5 after they beat Philadelphia. Give Miami credit for hanging in that game and coming back. They could have easily laid down and died in that game, so that was a good comeback by Miami. Dallas 2-7. They've lost 7 in a row. They lose to Tampa Bay 10-6. They cannot get in the end zone once against Tampa Bay. Castle is absolutely awful. Dallas was winning 6-3 late in the game. They had a 3rd and 1. They could have salted this game away. Castle throws the ball to Bryant. They can't complete it. Tampa Bay gets the ball back, goes down the field and scores. Just an awful loss by Dallas. Cannot get one touchdown. How awful is Castle? Now, from what I hear, Romo will play this week. So, again, I haven't learned my lesson. I still think Dallas at full strength is a good team. With Romo coming back, I have to believe this is the week that Dallas actually wins the game. So I'm going to take Dallas +1 in Miami. I mean, with Romo coming back, I mean, Dallas probably still thinks they can win this division. I mean, the Giants are leading this division at 5-5. I mean, 8-8 or 9-7 could win this division. So Dallas probably thinks with Romo coming back, they can run the table and somehow get back into this. And I'll tell you, these teams are so bad, they may be right. So I have to think Dallas is going to respond here. But Dallas's performance on offense yesterday was as bad as it gets. Can't get one offensive touchdown against Tampa Bay. And I know you're playing with the backup quarterback, but come on. Castle's the same guy when he quarterbacked New England. They went 11-5. Can't get one touchdown? So I have to think Romo, Romo being back this week is going to inspire Dallas. I got to think Dallas wins this week. I'll take Dallas +1 against Miami. Oh, that's another rough game. All right, let's go to Detroit. Here's another strange game where the Detroit Lions are at home, -1 against the Oakland Raiders. Detroit up to 2-7. They beat Green Bay for the first time in 400 years. 18-16. They did everything in their power to try and give this game away to Green Bay. Missed extra points. Can't recover an onside kick. But Green Bay misses a field goal at the end. Misses a 2-point conversion at the end. Detroit hangs on. I thought Detroit actually deserved to win this game. I did not think Green Bay played well at all. I mean, they looked atrocious. We'll get to them in a second. I actually thought Detroit played hard and deserved to win the game despite trying to give the game away multiple times. So Detroit's up to 2-7. Oakland down to 4-5. They've now lost a couple in a row. They were manhandled by Minnesota yesterday, 30-14. Minnesota's defense dominated that good Oakland Raider offense. Minnesota's doing a good job. We'll get to them in a second. This is another bizarro game. I mean, the games this week are flat out bizarre. I'm going to take the Raiders +1 here. I think their offense is going to get cooking. Listen, Detroit had a nice win in Green Bay, but Green Bay's been awful lately, and I don't trust Detroit, and I don't trust that defense. The Raiders, I think, after having a tough game against Minnesota, they're going to get that offense cooking, and I think they're going to carve up that Detroit defense. I don't trust Detroit at all. I don't trust that Detroit can win 2 games in a row, so I will take Oakland +1 at Detroit. That is pick number 5. Pick number 6. Let's go to Atlanta, where the Atlanta Falcons are -4 against the Indianapolis Colts. Atlanta is 6-3 coming off a bye. Indianapolis 4-5 coming off a bye. Atlanta's lost, 3 of the last 4 games, have had an awful month of football. Indianapolis 4-5. I mean, they're still in first place. Now Luck looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks. I mean, he's nursing some injuries. I got to like Atlanta here. I mean, they're home. I know they haven't been playing well, but after a bye week, they're home. Indianapolis, with Luck being all beat up, he's probably not going to play. I mean, Indianapolis, to me, I can't trust them without a healthy Luck in there. So I'm going to take Atlanta -4 against Indianapolis at Atlanta. That's pick number 6. Pick number 7, let's go down to Houston, where the New York Jets are -3-point favorites against the Houston Texans. The Jets are down to 5-4 as they lost to Buffalo 22-17. As the Jets had, 500 million mistakes in that game, 4 turnovers, just a bunch of mistakes for the Jets. I mean, they still almost pulled the game out, but the Jets made way too many mistakes in that game. So the Jets are down to 5-4. Houston is 3-5. They're still right there for that division. They're only a half a game behind Indianapolis. Houston does play tonight in Cincinnati. I would expect Houston to lose that game. I got to go with the Jets here. I cannot trust Houston. I don't like Houston's quarterback situation at all. Houston has showed me very little this year. I think the Jets defense, hopefully they'll play better against a bad Houston offense. I think the Jets maybe get that running game going, maybe force a few turnovers. I don't like Houston's team at all this year. So I will take the Jets -3 against Houston in Houston. That's pick number 7. I guess I'll pick the Thursday game. I mean, I wasn't going to go near this game, but whatever. I'll pick it anyway. Jacksonville at home, -3 against Tennessee. Tennessee is 2-7. They got bombed by Carolina yesterday. Jacksonville is up to 3-6, and believe it or not, that division is so bad. They're only like a game or so out of the first place. Jacksonville beats Baltimore 22-20. They got the field goal at the gun yesterday to win it. Jacksonville has been playing competitive football lately, and like I said, they're only a game behind Indianapolis, so they're still in this. I guess being Jacksonville had the emotional win. They're home. They're still in the division race. I'll go with Jacksonville here, but it's just one of the worst Thursday night games you could ever imagine. But I'll take Jacksonville just because they had that emotional win yesterday, and they are home, and they're only a game behind the Colts for the division. All right, let's get back to the Sunday games. Let's go to Carolina, with the Carolina Panthers on -7.5 against the Washington Redskins. Carolina 9-0. They bombed Tennessee yesterday, especially in the second half, 27-10. Carolina, one of the few teams yesterday that took care of business, that didn't take the week off, that came to play and polished off a team they should have. Great job by Carolina. I have nothing but good things to say about them. They come to play every week. The defense comes to play every week. They got the running game. Cam Newton always makes some good plays. Carolina doing a fabulous job this year. Washington up to 4-5, and they just bombed the Saints yesterday, 47-14. This game was 14-14 in the second quarter, and the Redskins just poured it on New Orleans. New Orleans has the worst defense in history. I can't believe New Orleans actually has 4 wins this year. I'll get to them in a second. But Washington, it's funny, Washington, certain games they look really good, like yesterday, or the game they pounded the Rams, and then they throw a complete opposite performance, at you, where you say, what is Washington doing? That's why they're an up and down team. They're like a 500 team to me. I don't know what I'm getting from Washington on a consistent basis. They looked great yesterday, but next week Cousins could throw 4 interceptions and they'll score 3 points. Too up and down Washington. They did look good yesterday. They do have some talent. They do have a good running game. They do have a good offensive line, but they just got to put this all together. I got to go with Carolina here. Until Carolina loses, I'm not going to pick against them often. I mean, especially against a team like Washington. I'm going to take Carolina here, -7.5 at home. Carolina's undefeated. They're home. Washington's too up and down for me, so I'll take Carolina there. That is pick number 9. Carolina at home, -7.5 against Washington. Pick number 10. Let's go to San Diego, where the Kansas City Chiefs are -3 against the San Diego Chargers. San Diego is 2-7 and coming off a bye week. The Chiefs are up to 4-5. They've won 3 in a row, and they just poured it on Denver. And the Chiefs have looked really good the last few weeks. The Chiefs, after stumbling and bumbling for like a month, they have really turned the corner. They look like they could be a decent team. They laid it on Denver yesterday, so the Chiefs have turned the corner. They have to take care of this bad San Diego team. San Diego can do no right this year. San Diego is not a good team. They can't stop anyone. I mean, I don't like San Diego at all. The way Kansas City is playing, you have to like Kansas City here. I'll take the Chiefs -3 against San Diego. That's pick number 10. Pick number 11. Let's go to Minnesota, where the Minnesota Vikings are -1 against the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota doing a fabulous job at 7-2. They are in first place now. They beat Oakland, totally controlled that game. Since Minnesota lost their opener to San Francisco, which is hard to believe, they've won 7 of 8 games. Peterson ran wild yesterday. Bridgewater's doing some nice things. I'm impressed with that Minnesota defense. They shut down a good Raider offense. Nice job by Minnesota. I said before the year Minnesota would be a decent team. They are. Green Bay, over to them. They are 6-3. They have now lost 3 in a row, and they inexplicably lost to Detroit at home. And I'll tell you what, They looked bad doing it, Green Bay. They have all sorts of issues now. I mean, they really miss Nelson at receiver. I mean, they're really having a lot of trouble now scoring. We know their defense isn't all that great. They gave up a big play on special teams. Aaron Rodgers is getting frustrated. He's not used to things going against him like that. I thought Detroit was the better team yesterday. Green Bay has major issues. They look like they're going in the wrong direction. They looked atrocious yesterday against a Lion team that had one win coming in and hadn't beaten Green Bay in Green Bay since the 1800s. So this was an absolutely awful loss. Green Bay could only muster 16 points against that Lion defense that gives up points to everybody. Danger time for Green Bay. I don't like what I see at all from them. They're going in the wrong direction. They look like a sloppy mess, and Aaron Rodgers is starting to get frustrated now. As far as this game, I got to go with Minnesota. Green Bay, like I said, they've lost 3 in a row. They look terrible. They got all sorts of issues, and Minnesota looks like a together team. They've won 7 of 8. They are home. They can lean on Peterson, that running game. I like Minnesota here. I'm sorry. I got to take the Vikings. I think right now Minnesota is the more together team. They are home. I'll take Minnesota -1 against Green Bay. That's pick number 11. Pick number 12. Let's go out to Seattle, where the Seattle Seahawks are -10 against the San Francisco 49ers. Seattle loses at home last night to Arizona. They fall behind big. Then they make the big rally to take the lead. And what happens again? Arizona rallies to win the game. Seattle has blown yet another fourth quarter lead. That's become a habit with them. I mean, what a terrible loss by Seattle. Seattle is in all sorts of trouble. They are not going to catch Arizona for the division. They're still a couple games behind the wild card spot. Seattle may not make the playoffs, and I never count them out. I like their defense, although the defense has come up small in the fourth quarter this year. I never count out Seattle. I have a lot of respect for them. They are in danger of not making the playoffs. San Francisco 3-6. They're coming off a bye. I guess they're going to start Gabbert. Listen, again, another team I haven't learned my lesson with. I'm going to go back on Seattle again. I'm going to say, okay, they got to get up to 5-5. They got to beat a bad Niner team with Gabbert at quarterback. I mean, come on. I can't see the Niners going into Seattle and winning. Seattle, this is it. This is the last stand. You go to 4-6. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I really don't. 5-5, okay, you can get some things cooking. I think Seattle has to have this game in the worst way. I think they'll respond at home. I don't think the Niners are going to get any points. This could be like one of those 23 to 6 games or something like that. I think Seattle's defense should dominate here. I'll take Seattle -10 against San Francisco out in Seattle. Last stand for the Seahawks. Have to have this game. Pick number 13. The Arizona Cardinals are at home -2.5 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Arizona, like I just mentioned, had the huge win in Seattle yesterday. Arizona is doing a tremendous job. Looks like they're going to win that division. They look like a solid team, Arizona. Cincinnati, of course, undefeated. They play tonight against Houston. I think Cincinnati will win tonight. I'm going to go with Arizona here. Cincinnati plays tonight at home. Then they got a short week. Got to go to Arizona. Very tough place to play. I think Cincinnati could be due for a loss there. So I'm going to take Arizona in a very nice game, a must-watch game. I'll take Arizona at home in the desert, -2.5 against the Bengals. And pick number 14, the final pick, the Monday night game, the New England Patriots at home, -7.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo had a very important win against the Jets. New England 9-0, find new and creative ways to win again. They beat the Giants 27-26. They hit the last-second field goal. New England is starting to take some injuries now. They got a lot of key guys out. Some will be back, some won't be back. So they have a lot of guys out in New England. But you know New England, no matter who's out, they keep plugging guys in, and they find ways to win, and they just find new guys all the time. They've reinvented the offensive line. They've reinvented the defense. They keep plugging guys in left and right. It's amazing the job Belichick does with finding new players. I got to like New England here. They're home on Monday night. I don't trust Buffalo. I know they had the big win against the Jets, but they almost blew that game. I mean, they had a big lead in that game. The Jets, had 4 turnovers in that game, and the Jets really had a golden chance to win that game. Couldn't get in at the end. But I don't trust Buffalo on a consistent basis. They're up, they're down. I don't trust the quarterback on a consistent basis. You never know what you're getting from Buffalo. Too inconsistent for me. New England is always consistent. They are home. I think New England will find a way to beat Buffalo. I like New England at home -7.5 against the Bills. 4 teams have a bye. The Giants, who had that crushing loss yesterday in New England. Giants are in first place, but that was a heartbreaking loss. Pittsburgh has a bye. They beat the Browns yesterday. Roethlisberger comes off the bench and throws for almost 400 yards. I mean, Pittsburgh, if they ever get healthy, ever get Roethlisberger completely healthy, they could be a dangerous team. I know they lost Bell, the running back, but they do have a good backup. Pittsburgh does have a good backup at running back, so Pittsburgh could be a dangerous team. I think they will make the playoffs. They just got to stay healthy, especially Big Ben. Cleveland has a bye. Cleveland is going nowhere. Johnny Manziel, I don't like him. Cleveland, another disastrous year. And New Orleans has a bye. I mean, let's spend a little moment on New Orleans. I mean, did you see the performance New Orleans gave yesterday against Washington? They lost 47-14 against a mediocre Redskin team. How in the world did New Orleans win 4 games this year? They lose to Tennessee the week before at home, and then they have this atrocious performance against Washington. The game's 14-14 in the second quarter, and Washington outscores New Orleans 33-0 the rest of the way. New Orleans is embarrassing. I said it last year about them, and I'm saying it again there. They somehow came up with a few wins this year. They got 4 wins, and you think, oh, maybe they've turned the corner. They're doing some nice things. Their defense is one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the NFL. It is atrocious. I mean, what a performance yesterday. It couldn't stop the Redskins. I mean, terrible job by New Orleans. You know, New Orleans needs a whole change. Maybe the coach should leave. I mean, maybe they need to redo that whole team. It is all falling apart for the Saints. That performance yesterday was as bad as it gets. And we know the defense is bad. The offense, after the second quarter, can't get any points against Washington. Atrocious job by the New Orleans Saints. That was embarrassing yesterday. Awful defense. So that is your picks for Week 11 in the NFL. Like I said, I had a bad week yesterday. I had a lot of winning weeks in a row. I had a great week the week before, but yesterday I gave a lot of it back. It was a strange week in the NFL. A lot of road teams won, a lot of underdogs won, a lot of strange performances. I mean, did you ever think Detroit was going to go into Green Bay and win? Did you ever think the Bears were going to smack around the Rams? Did you ever think the Eagles were going to blow a 16-3 lead at home to the Dolphins? I mean, did you ever think Dallas, was going to find a new and creative way to lose to Tampa and not be able to get into the end zone again? I mean, the list just goes on and on, the bad performances. I just couldn't believe some of the teams the way they played yesterday. So it was a strange week in the NFL. As far as the college football, as we head into Week 12 of the college football season, like I said, you get to Thanksgiving and all those rivalry games, you're basically done with the regular season college football. Then you get to your conference championships, your bowls, and your Final Four. You believe we're almost done with college football? How fast does that go? As far as over the weekend, Clemson beat Syracuse, Alabama handled Mississippi State, Ohio State handled Illinois, Notre Dame beat Wake Forest, Iowa remained unbeaten, they beat Minnesota, Oklahoma had the huge win, they beat Baylor, suffers their first loss, nice win by Oklahoma. Oregon beat Stanford, that means the whole Pac-12 is going to be out of the Final Four playoff because Utah also lost to Arizona. Oklahoma State remains unbeaten, they rallied to beat Iowa State. Florida's still in the mix, they beat South Carolina, and Houston remains unbeaten, they beat Memphis, although Houston cannot get to the Final Four playoff with their light schedule. As far as the games this week, I actually had a good week in college football last week. Had a bad week in the NFL. Last week in college football, I was 6-3, so a nice week there in college football kind of saved my weekend. I have, how many picks for you this week? I got about 7 picks for you this week in college football. Again, it's not a great week in college football. You got a couple of games that really mean a lot, but it's not a great week in college football. Let's go to pick number 1. Let's go to Vegas, where San Diego State is -12 against UNLV. These teams have the opposite record. San Diego State is 7-3. UNLV is 3-7. San Diego State is on a roll. They have been playing really well lately, and I don't like this UNLV team at all. UNLV is a basketball school. They are not a football school. They're very rarely good in football. I'm going to take San Diego State here to roll over UNLV. That's pick number 1. Pick number 2, let's go to Tulsa, where Navy is -10 against Tulsa. Tulsa is okay, they're 5-5, but Navy is really good. They only have 1 loss this year, and that was to Notre Dame. They blew out Memphis. Navy is a handful for anyone. I think Navy, with the way they run their offense, will give Tulsa all sorts of problems. I like Navy minus 10 against Tulsa in Tulsa. That's pick number 2. Pick number 3, let's go to Fayetteville, where Arkansas is minus 3 against Mississippi State. Arkansas is 6-4. They've won 4 in a row. They went into LSU last week and beat the Tigers. So Arkansas is on a real roll. Mississippi State got crushed by Alabama. I think Arkansas is really hot right now, so I'm going to ride the hot streak. I'll take Arkansas at home, minus 3 against Mississippi State in Fayetteville. That's pick number 3. Pick number 4, let's go to Vatech, where North Carolina is minus 6 against Virginia Tech. North Carolina, believe it or not, has only had 1 loss. That was to South Carolina to start the year. They'd love to have that one back because they're better than South Carolina. North Carolina scores 1,000,000 points every week. They're over 50 every week. Virginia Tech is 5-5. They're fighting for a bowl. They're kind of a mediocre team. They did beat Georgia Tech last week. I don't love this Vatech team, though. This is Beamer's last year. I think UNC's offense is going to be way too much for Vatech, even though the game is being played in Vatech. It's a tough place to play, but I think UNC's offense is just too much for Vatech to handle. I'll take UNC minus 6 against Vatech. That's pick number 4. Pick number 5. Here's a really nice rivalry game. Arizona State at home in Tempe, minus 6 against Arizona. Arizona 6-5, had the huge win against Utah. Arizona wasn't playing well, upset Utah, knocked Utah right out of any playoff contention. And Arizona, their quarterback is questionable this week. He went out with an injury last week. Arizona State is 5-5. They're fighting for a bowl. Beat Washington last week. I'm going to take Arizona State here. I don't know about the Arizona quarterback. Arizona had the huge win last week. Now we don't know about the quarterback. Arizona's already bowl eligible. Arizona State is not. So Arizona State may be more motivated for this game. I think Arizona State at home is going to be a little too much for Arizona. So I think Arizona State wins this game. I'll take Arizona State minus 6 against Arizona in Tempe in a very nice rivalry game. There's also another rivalry game I didn't pick, Stanford against Cal. That's always a nice game. I didn't pick that game, but if you like rivalry games, you may want to keep an eye on that one. 2 more picks for you. These are probably the 2 biggest games of the weekend. Oklahoma State at home, minus 1 against Baylor. Oklahoma State undefeated. They have a chance for the Final Four playoff, have a chance to win the Big 12. They have to beat Baylor at home. They have to beat Oklahoma at home, so they got work to do. Baylor had the tough loss to Oklahoma last week at home. I think Baylor's going to be really down after that. I think that blew up any chance they had of making the Final Four playoff. I think they're going to be down. I think Oklahoma State is going to be sky high. I like Oklahoma State here at home to take care of Baylor. Remember, Baylor's playing a freshman backup quarterback. I like the Cowboys here. Oklahoma State minus 1 against Baylor. Oklahoma State stays perfect. And the big game of the weekend, this is where College Game Day will be. Ohio State at home, minus 13.5 against Michigan State. Michigan State, of course, has 1 loss. They had the improbable win against Michigan. Then they let one slip away against Nebraska. Looks like the quarterback for Michigan State will play. He left the game last week, but I think he will play this week. Ohio State, of course, is perfect. Ohio State hasn't really just blown anyone out this year. All their games, they sometimes win comfortably, but they don't really pour it on you. I think Michigan State, and I think Ohio State's going to win this game at home. I think Michigan State can hang around in this game, maybe get a backdoor cover. So I like Michigan State plus 13.5 at Ohio State. I think Ohio State wins, but Ohio State hasn't been blowing teams out, with big scores this year. Let teams hang around. I think Michigan State has enough if the quarterback plays, of course, which we think he will. I think Michigan State can hang around in this game and cover the 13.5. So I'll take Michigan State there just to keep it close. Michigan State plus 13.5 at Ohio State. So like I said, it's not a great week in college football. The week after, the Thanksgiving week, I absolutely love because you got all those classic rivalry games, and then you're going to get into the real nitty-gritty of this Final Four playoff because you're starting to get a picture of who's alive in the Final Four playoff. So it's really coming down to the home stretch now in college football. So those are your picks there. Like I said, I was 6-3 in my college football picks last week. So I did well in college football, didn't do well in the NFL. All right, so there you go. A couple other things I wanted to mention. I've been watching some NBA, some NHL, some college basketball, but it's way too early in those seasons. NBA and NHL go on forever. We're just in the beginning of the college basketball. I want to mention Ronda Rousey losing. Holly Holm knocked her out in the second round in Australia in the MMA fight over the weekend. Listen, I said it a long time ago. Rousey reminded me of Mike Tyson. A complete bully, winning fights in 16 seconds, which was a complete joke. I wanted to see her, against someone, that could give her a fight. I wanted to see some competition. That's how you really know when someone's good. I mean, and Holly Holm really took it to Rousey. I mean, Holly Holm was a champion boxer, and she just demolished Rousey. I mean, this fight was not even close. And I think all the hype Rousey has had the last year, I mean, I couldn't take it after a while. I mean, the 16-second fights and how they charge people, a pay-per-view fight to watch Rousey win in 16 seconds. That's a joke. I mean, come on. And then all the hype at Rousey. You couldn't go anywhere and see her. She's on every talk show. She's in movies. They make her like she's a supermodel, which she's not, by the way. I mean, I couldn't take it after a while, the way they hyped her up. And she proved to be a classic bully. As soon as she, couldn't get the armbar, that she's like a one-trick pony. Couldn't get the armbar against Holly Holm. She didn't have any answers at all, and Holly Holm dominated this fight. Then after the fight, Rousey, we haven't heard from her until today. She doesn't give Holly Holm any credit. Oh, great job by Holly Holm. I congratulate her for winning. All Rousey says is, I'll be back. Like she's Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. I mean, can't you give your opponent a little credit for winning? She acts like a total bully, Rousey, and she was very exposed in this fight. I mean, this was like a myth buster. I mean, they made Rousey into something she was not. I mean, it's not like I don't respect her at all. I do. But, I mean, you see what happens when she had a little bit of competition here. Holly Holm dominated this fight, and Rousey had no answers. So I don't want to hear about Rousey beating, male MMA fighters, or beating Mayweather, or beating this one, or beating that one. She was severely exposed in this fight, and the hype that people had with her the last year, you couldn't turn on a channel without seeing Rousey somewhere. On, a talk show, Jimmy Kimmel, the news, she's on ESPN demonstrating the armbar. I mean, you go online, and then she's a model, and she's in movies. You can't take it after a while. They built her up into something she was not. Totally overhyped. And just like Mike Tyson, when he couldn't knock you out in the first round, and he couldn't be the bully, Buster Douglas polished him off. Evander Holyfield bullied him around the ring. Ronda Rousey and Mike Tyson, those two remind me of each other. So I was happy to see Holly Holm win that fight. You need competition. It can't be so one-sided. I think this is good for MMA. You need a deep women's division. You can't have one fighter winning every fight, in 16 seconds against housewives and then charge people $50 for it. And, I didn't like White, who runs UFC. I didn't like him after the fight. He looked like he was so devastated because Rousey lost. How about someone give credit to Holly Holm? Rousey didn't do it. White really didn't do it. I mean, come on. Holly Holm's a champion boxer, won this fight easy. I mean, everyone was so devastated that Rousey lost. I mean, it was ridiculous after a while. So I was happy that Holly Holm won. Maybe you get some competition now in women's MMA instead of having one fighter dominate every fight in 16 seconds. All right, I wanted to mention that. And, of course, we all are thinking about the people in Paris. Paris, we are thinking about you. Okay, you guys are all caught up. You guys are all set. Hopefully I do better in the NFL this week, although I'll tell you, the games are a little strange this week. There's a lot of bizarro games. Yesterday was just really, really crazy, so hopefully I get back to my winning ways. I was doing well there for a few weeks, had a lot of winning weeks, but yesterday gave a lot of it back. I did have a winning week in college football, so that saved my weekend. Anyway, you guys, thanks for the support as always. You guys stay happy, healthy, and safe. Enjoy the game tonight. It's not a great one, Cincinnati and Houston. And I will be back with you guys very, very soon. Pick a lot of winners. Make a lot of money. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.